everyone, my name is Rachel Espayos from 11th STEM Einstein, and in this video, I will be discuss the topic about stoichiometric calculation. But first, let us define the meaning of stoichiometry. Stoichiometry is a section of chemistry that involves using relationship between reactant and or product in a chemical reaction to determine the desired of quantitative data. In Greek word, stoichion means elements and metron means measure. So, stoichiometry is literally translated means the measure of the elements. And this is the calculation of the quantitative relationship of the reactant and product in a balanced chemical equation. In stoichiometry calculation, these are the example of the types of problem that we can encounter, and this is the topic we will focus now. This is the mole calculation and mass calculation. And this is the formula we will use in two. And to better understand the stoichiometry calculation, let us go to its example. But now, let's start to the mole example. Number 1. How many moles of O2 will be produced from 7 moles of water or H2O? So we have the chemical equation H2 plus O2 is equal to H2O. So we can see that the chemical equation is not yet balanced. So first, we need to balance the chemical equation, so that will be 2H2 plus O2 is equal to 2H2O. So now, going back to our formula, moles A times coefficient B over coefficient A is equal to moles B. So moles A is, it will be H2O, and coefficient B is the most wanted or the most required, is that will be 1 O2, and the coefficient A is the most given, so that will be 2, and the moles B is the O2 because this is what we are looking for. So we need to substitute the moles A, that will be 7 moles H2O, and in coefficient B, that will be 1 O2, and in coefficient A, that will be 2H2O. So next, we need to cancel the same units, which is the H2O. So this is the one-step conversion. And you need one conversion factor in order to come up with required unit. So we need to multiply 7 by 1 is equal to 7. Divided by 2 is equal to 3.5. So the answer is 3.5 moles O2. So now, let's move on to our next example. Number 2. Propane reacts with oxygen gas to produce carbon dioxide and water. So now, here's the question. How many moles of oxygen gas are required to produce 14 moles of water or H2O? So propane is C3H8 and reacts with oxygen gas, which is diatomic, and that's the 2 carbon dioxide is CO2 and water is H2O. We can see that the chemical equation is not yet balanced. So first things we need to do is write the balanced chemical equation by adding coefficient. And this is the balanced chemical equation. And after that, we can answer the question of how many moles of oxygen gas are required to produce 14 moles of water or H2O. So first, let's start with what we're given, and that's 14 moles of water. And let's use conversion factor to convert H2O and O2. The conversion factor is the mole ratio. It is 5 to 4. So you can make the statement 5 moles of O2 is chemically equivalent to 4 moles of water, because for every 5 moles of O2 reacts 4 moles of water will produce. Now, since we have the moles of water on the top rule, to put it on the bottom of the second fraction, we want the unit of moles of H2O to cancel. So on top, we have to put this part on conversion factor 5 moles O2. That's now, we just need to do the math. So, let's calculate. 14 times 5 divided by 4 is equal to 17.5 mole O2. So, this time, we are going to the next calculation. It is the mass calculation or grams to grams stoichiometric calculation. So, how do we do that? In this calculation, several conversion factors are required to come up with a final answer. So, let's have an example. How many grams of hydrogen gas are needed to produce 75.2 grams of water, given the following unbalanced chemical reaction? So, we have H2 plus O2 is equal to water. So, we need to balance first before we proceed to solving. So, that will be 2H2 plus O2 is equal to 2H2O. So, let's substitute one by one. Let's start with grams A. Grams A is the given. So, we have 75.2 grams or 75.2 GH2O. Multiply that by 1 mole A, 1 mole, that will be 1 mole H2O. Next is GPMA or grams per mole. So, we're going to get the molar mass of H2O. That will be 18.02 grams H2O or GH2O. So, where to find it? We need to look up in our periodic table and find their atomic masses. So, there's have 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen atom. So, the atomic mass of hydrogen is 1.01, and we need to multiply that by 2 because H has 2 hydrogen. So, 1.01 times 2 is equal to 2.02. And the atomic mass of oxygen is, that will be 16.00. So, we need to add this together. We get the total of 18.02 grams H2O or 18.02 GH2O. So, next we have coefficient B. Coefficient B is the most required or most wanted, which is the hydrogen gas. So, that will be 2H2. Then, next one is the coefficient A. Coefficient A is the most given. So, that will be 2H2O. Next one is GPMB or gram per mole. So, that will be 2.02 GH2 if we compute the molar mass of H2. So, the next is we have 1 mole B. So, that will be 1 mole H2. So, as you can see, the terms has been cancelled. The cancellation is by conversion factor, and after you cancel the first conversion factor, then use another conversion factor to cancel the same unit. So, doing the math, 75.2 divided by 18.02 times 2.02 GH2 is equal to 8.43 GH2. This is the final answer. So, that's the end. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned about on stoichiometry calculation.